Thanks for staying with us. So joining us on the show to discuss the Dowen story is the President, Private School Association of Nigeria, Yomi Otubela, and also a children human rights and protection consultant, Taiwo Akinlami. Welcome to the show. Who do I have ready?
Thank you very much. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Okay. Both of them are here. All right. Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to hear your thoughts on the story concerning Dowen. What exactly is happening and how do you think we can take this further to give justice to Sylvester?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Can I go?
Yes, you can go.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning. I think that Sylvester's story is very sad, in the sense that a man or a woman does not send his or her child to school to meet their debts. A parent send their children to school to receive education. The school is supposed to be one of the safest places for children, where those who take care of children are supposed to have the duty of care to protect them. When that is supposed to be a field of protection becomes a place of death, it becomes concerning. And that is why all hands must be on deck to ensure that justice is done to the soul of the child that has departed. Now, justice in what form? What do we mean by justice? We must investigate the circumstances under which the child died. Apart from investigating the circumstances under which the child died, we must be interested in the role of the school in all of this. We must be interested in the machinery that is put in place to protect children in that school. I think those are the conversations that must be on the front burner, because, you see, this is not the first time a child would die in a school in Nigeria. Since 2015, since 15 years ago, I've studied the circumstances under which children have died in school. And I can say to you for free, categorically, challenging everyone to a debate, that in all of those circumstances, or in almost all of them, schools have been found culpable. There were steps they were supposed to take to protect the lives of children, which they failed to take, and that's what led to the death of children. Now, the truth of the matter is that none of those people have been brought to book. None of those cases have been pursued to a logical conclusion. My fear is that Sylvester's story is going to trend as usual, and give it 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The matter will go to bed. Another story will break, and we go to bed. We wait for another matter again. I think I'm tired of this kind of noise. The way forward is we must begin to hold schools accountable, both government school and private schools, for their role in protecting our children that we are giving to them. Understanding that the number one role of a school is not to teach. The number one role of a school is to protect children, because until children are protected, learning cannot be learn.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So I have a question for Mr. Yomi Otubela. And because listening to what we've just heard, and that most of the deaths in schools are related to people dropping the ball, the people that we entrust our children to, dropping the ball in the management, in following up. What would you have to say about the internal organizations of private secondary schools? Because that's where you are. How are the private secondary schools being, what's the process of ensuring that everybody lives up to the standard of education? What goes on internally to check abuse, to check things that if any school fails, what's the internal structure of punishment within the school system for private secondary schools that are in the member of your association?
Thank you, presenter. I want to say that I'm grateful for having me here to share my thoughts and the thought of my association. First and foremost, we want to send our unreserved sympathy to the family of Sylvester Oromoni and the Nigerians and every stakeholders in this matter. It is a regrettable and shocking experience that a child who had been sent to learn could lose his life in this prime time. I want to start by saying that the challenges of indiscipline and all other issues of bullying, intolerance, imbalance of power are societal issues, and school cannot be treated as of the society. I am saying this because the children who had been alleged to have bullied, maltreated, and tortured these young boys to death, as alleged, are not coming from the blues. They are children that are coming from one society or the other. In our association, we are aware that Lagos State government have locked down the school. The police have set in and also started the investigation on this matter. It is from this angle that we are waiting for the outcome of this investigation. And I must say here that in the past, where we have issues of child bullying, molestation, even rape, there have been concluded cases. I want everyone who are concerned not to look at when news are just broken. We should also follow up to see that we know how cases are ended. In Lagos State here, where we are, we have issues of molestation of a child, a female child in particular. And that case went far to court system, and there was a judgment against the teacher that was involved. I am aware that that teacher was sentenced. So it is true that cases are not swept under the carpet. They are concluded, especially when it affects school system, and we have good numbers of them on our records of concluded cases, even by the court of law. I want to say that every schools are licensed by the state government because education is under concurrent list. And state governments have rules and regulations guiding the establishment and the operation of any school. In schools under our association, you run a school with the availability of students and staff handbook. This handbook contains the policies that has to do with the operation of the school, including discipline, punishments, and the like. There is no school that tolerates the act of bullying. There is no school that tolerates the acts of secret court activities, indiscipline, and the rest. Where children are found to engage themselves in any of these unacceptable acts of behavior, they are often set through.
Sir, just a minute. Let me bring in a question. So, as the chairperson, because I'm just finding out there's a body for private schools.
Yes.
So I want to know, as that body, is Dowen College a member of that association? That's number one. Even though if they are not, there has been continuous reports from private schools. We have Don Davis, we have several that are coming up now. Do you do intermittent training for your members on things sensitive like this and get people like Mr. Akinlami to come around to talk to teachers now on how to spot this among the children in their care, even when they are not boarding schools?
Yes, there are regular training and refresher courses. Just last 2 weeks, precisely November 23rd, 24th, 25th, Federal Ministry of Education, UBEC, and other independent personalities were present in our annual national conference, where issues of child safety and school security were discussed. As a matter of fact, we just signed in a collaboration with security outfits that provide additional security for schools with boarding facilities. So there is internal training, there is external training, there are training within the association, and there are facts on the table to corroborate this.
Okay, Mr. Yomi, let me find out if this school actually has a PTA, Parents Teachers Association, because there are, stories out there that the school does not believe in PTA. And is this supposed to be mandatory for every school, especially every private school under this association?
Yes. As a matter of fact, our association, National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, frown against non-engagement of parents. There are what we call parent inclusion and parent engagement, where inclusion is about reporting, carrying parents along about happening about individual child, and general programs that the school have to improve the child's mentality beyond academics. There is also what we call parent engagement. In engagement, we find a situation whereby there is a forum that is started by different names by different schools but serve the same objectives. Some call it PTA, Parent Teachers Association. Some call it Parent Forum. Some call it partners. They will call something like Dowen Partners, for instance, and different names, but they all serve the same objectives in ensuring that parents are engaged in the running of the school. There are instances where there are volunteers among parents who come to the school to support the school system in ensuring that children are safe. In fact, safety first is what we preach within our association. It is unfortunate that these were allowed to happen and this cost a life of a child.
So let's go back to you, sir. I wanted to ask you about bullying. Is not today. Like, bullying has been ongoing right from when all of us that we are adults now were in school. We were all bullied. Then they talk about the culture of silence. They talk about growing up in a toxic environment and how this causes a ripple effect. And from your own study of secondary school children, what would you say is the root of this, and how can we decisively reduce the cases of bullying within our school system?
Okay, I will answer that question, but let me quickly build a foundation for my answer. Now, I think the first thing we need to understand is that when children gather in school, the responsibility of the school has a duty of care to protect children. There's a role of the parent, there's a role of the school. And when you look at Section 2 of the Child Rights Act, it makes it abundantly clear, confers a duty on everybody who gather children to ensure, whether private institution or public institution, to ensure that these children are safe. That is Chapter 2. In pursuant to this Chapter 2, in 2015, there was a report of violence against children which found what led to the abuse of children to be lack of system in place to protect children. On the basis of that, priority of action was drafted. And in that part of action, in a report by UNICEF, supported by the federal government, to say that it is now mandatory for schools to run child protection system, codified into policies, broken down into processes on which everybody within the school system is trained. Now, on their role, the problem today is nearly all the schools in Nigeria are not abiding by that. They don't have in place child protection system, codified into policies, broken down into processes on which everybody is trained on their role. I'm not talking about safety tips. To protect children system is coordinated approach, manned by experts. Now, these principles, people are running British curriculum. Now, the place you went to collect the British curriculum from, do they run their school without child protection policy? Go to UAE there. You can't run a school without child protection system. Here, we are in the city of the blind. Those who are even supposed to challenge the schools don't know what questions to ask. They ask the question, are my children safe? What do you expect the school to tell you? The school, of course, is going to tell you your children are safe. The question to ask is, what machineries, professionally, do you have in place to ensure that children are safe? Ellen King is a consultant to UNICEF on school safety in the Caribbean. She made a statement, which I quickly want to quote for you. She said, since children spend a significant amount of their childhood in school, it is for this reason, if no other, that school should be warm, caring and nurturing places when students feel supported and they feel protected. She continued by saying, research has shown that when children feel connected to school, they have better learning and behavioral outcome. The question is, what is the purpose of a school? Better learning and behavioral outcome. How do you achieve it? When children feel connected. How are they going to feel connected? When they feel protected and they feel supported. How are they going to feel protected and supported? When the school is warm, caring and nurturing places. What does it mean to care? To anticipate the needs of children, to anticipate the threats to them, to make adequate preparation to meet those needs and mitigate those threats well before they arise. That is the meaning of care. In this case, how do 4 or 5 boys come into a room to meet a boy and they begin to beat him up. The people who have the duty of care, where were they? Don't go to bullying first. Bullying is a secondary matter in this matter. The first matter is that a child was put under your care. You took responsibility for the safety and protection of the child. And while you were sleeping, while you were not awake, under your custody, before the full clear of your custody, boys came in and they beat that boy, and you are telling us the boy was playing football. Even if they were playing football, let's assume without considering that they were playing football. If they were playing football, football was an exercise of their right to play. If children are playing, do they have the right to play without supervision? If they were playing football and the football become violent, how come you were not able to stop it? That the mouth of the boy is bleeding, his liver has swollen up, and you are telling us it's football? This denier is evil. It is there that they keep people in Lekki to bed. They were here at now a child has been killed. The school is telling us rubbish. They are telling us that the boy was playing football. What kind of
Mr. Akinlami?
This is sad. And so we now go to the issue of bullying. We now go to the issue of bullying.
Let me tell you hold on, sir.
Bullying today.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is he waiting for me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Mr. Akinlami, I was going to go to the question of bullying anyway. How does a parent partake in teaching their children bullying? Because I don't want to believe a child is born with the skill. Every child with their ways. But what role does a parent play? I want to believe that the lessons come from home and the training also come from home to make them better persons.
Yes, a child does not come from heaven with the bullying capacity, with hate. Even Adantala did not come from heaven as a bully. Every child that came here took the form of the society in which the child has been born. Our children are either beneficiaries or victims of our example. I have researched. I was bullied as a child. My first bullies were my parents. My father that would tie my hand, tie my legs, strip me naked, and give me 6 strokes of the cane and go and sit down. That could go on for half a day. And we lived in face apartment where everybody minded their business except God. And people told me that the reason why my father treated me that way was because I was stubborn. And I asked them, at what point did I become stubborn? I was born into the hand of my father. I could not talk. I could not do anything. He raised me. I was a boy that could not talk, that was born into your hand, that you were packing the people, putting nappy and all of that. How did he become stubborn to that? You lost control. So there's no such thing as children beyond control. There are parents who lost control. So what you find in our society is that children become bullies because they themselves were bullied. Children become bullies because that's how they see their parents resolve matters. Children become bullies because the community in which they have gathered do not take responsibility. Okay, let me give you a quick story. My client's son was sodomized in this Lagos. Eyebrow school, 6 figures, school pay, 6 figures paying school fees. And I got to the school. I asked them the question. They said they have investigated it. I said, in this school, do you have anti-bullying policy? They don't have. Do you have child protection policy? They don't have. How much do you talk to these children about this subject matter of bullying? What do you do? Who do you bring to talk to them? Experts, or you just bring a motivational speaker? What do you do? They don't do all of that. I said, so you don't want crisis in your school? You know the tendency of children. You know that they are exposed to violence everywhere around them. So you are running a school, you don't have child protection policy. You don't have anti-bullying policy. You don't train these children on all of this matter. You don't have conversation with them. It is when something happens, you bring them to the assembly to come and kill them. I told this school, I said, our case is not that this thing happened in your school. Our case is that you do not have enough machinery in place to ensure that it does not happen. There's no machinery. Let me declare to you this. I may not have the opportunity of speaking, but let me declare this to you as I round up. I tell you that if you are running a school today, or you are running a religious place of worship and you gather children, or you are running a hospital, or you are running a recreation center and you gather children, and you do not have in place a child protection system, codified into policies, broken down into processes of implementation on which everybody within the system is trained on their role, and this policy is subject to review in pursuant to Section 2 of the Child Rights Act of Nigeria, promulgated in 2003, which has been domesticated in 25 states of the Federation, in pursuant to the Report on Violence Against Children and the Parity of Action, which recommended child protection system as a solution against child abuse. You are running a crime scene, a potential crime scene. And we should not be surprised when crimes are happening in crime scenes. In 2015, in the last 15 years, I've investigated circumstances under which children have died. In all of those circumstances, I repeat, I challenge anybody to a debate, a public debate, on TV, on radio, on YouTube. In all of those circumstances, the schools have been found culpable. What is missing is lack of child protection system a child who was asthmatic, who had an attack and complained, and was supposed to be injected. And the doctor that was supposed to inject him called in to say I was not available and asked the matron, who is not a medical person, to inject the boy. The injection that was supposed to be intravenous was given to the child already. The child died immediately. You want me to talk about a school where a child was sick, was ill for 4 days, and they never informed the parents until 4 days after, and the child became delirious, rushed to the hospital, and the child died. You want me to talk about a situation where a school is located in a place and their hospital of first responders was located in 1.5 hours away from the school, and the child hit his head against the school wall and broke. At the end of the day, the child began to bleed. There was nobody within the school system with first aid knowledge. I'm not talking about a public school. I'm not talking about the secondary school. I'm talking about a high school in Lagos State. At the end of the day, this boy was rushed to the hospital. By the time the boy arrived in the hospital, the boy was pronounced dead.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I'll come to you top. But Mr. Yomi Otubela, are you still there with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, so I want to ask you specifically what your association is doing in this case. Is there any form of private investigation that you're handling? I know the Lagos State is handling another investigation. Are you doing something to ensure that you have a hold on the story and follow through as an association?
Thank you so much for that question. I must say that we have tentacles of leadership of our association in all the 774 local governments across the country. Immediately the news was broken, we had contacted the chairman of our association around Lekki Axis in Lagos State. And as we are here, we are getting additional information both from parents, both from community who within the axis of the schools have given us information. And there are instances where we have established issues of negligence of duty. There are instances where we have established the issue of disobedience among children. And until we conclude this, we should come up in the next 21 days from last week, Thursday. We shall make our own personal findings also public.
Thank you very much, sir. I think at this point I have to let the two of you go. Thank you for your insights on the case. We're still on the case. We're still talking about it. We'll take a short break right now. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.